Okay. My name is Sylvia Cadena. Welcome to the session on sustainability of complementary connectivity initiatives. I am originally from Colombia, and I have about 30 years of experience working on internet development. And I moved to Australia 15 years ago to learn about this Asia-Pacific region. My home is at APNIC and the APNIC Foundation, where I manage the programs and partnerships portfolio. Okay, not moving. Not moving. Sorry, the slides are not moving. There you go. So APNIC is the home of the APNIC Foundation, and APNIC manages IPv4 and IPv6 addresses and ASN numbers for the Asia-Pacific region. We cover 56 economies and produce technical research and support capacity building across a number of areas that are basically technical and operational in principle, right? So the foundation, okay, not moving. Okay. So how the foundation work? We have 3 programs: inclusion, infrastructure, and knowledge. Each of the programs support a range of activities from technical training and assistance to research and collaboration. And we focus on members of the technical community that we defined as network engineers, cybersecurity professionals, and internet governance specialists to achieve and support the mission of our organization, that is the open, stable, reliable, secure, affordable, and accessible. Sorry, the screen is in front of me. Affordable and accessible internet. I encourage you to have a look at our annual report from last year, where you can see the depth and breadth of projects that have been supported by the APNIC Foundation and the kind of things that the foundation is doing in terms of increasing investment in this space. This is the foundation team. You're going to see a lot of those faces around. Please, approach us and talk to us. We really want to meet you all and understand the needs of the community that we are serving. So the 3 programs that the foundation have are infrastructure, inclusion, and knowledge. As you can see on the screen, we support deployment of technology that is related to connectivity, which is many of the organizations that are here with us today. Inclusion and knowledge, where we also deploy infrastructure, but then with a focus on trying to bring new players into the industry, increase diversity in the workforce, or connect specific communities that are isolated for a number of reasons that could be geographical, cultural, or economic basis. And some of those examples are coming with the panel that is with us today. From 2021 to 2023, we have 17 projects that are working on connectivity solutions in different ways. And 24 new projects are going to be announced in the next 3 weeks. So please stay tuned for that announcement coming up. Out of the 44 projects that have received funding in the last 3 years, which is our last strategy cycle. So in the panel with us, we have 5 organizations, representatives from 5 organizations that have received ISEA funding in the last couple of years, and or before also. And they are going to share with us some of their experiences around and the challenges that they have to reach sustainability for these complementary connectivity solutions that they have been working on. So we are going to start with Common Room from Indonesia, and then go to the Outback in Australia, then to India, then Micronesia, and then the Philippines. And that tour offers about all of these solutions, and you will see the many differences and the many commonalities that they have around the problems that they face and how they address those challenges. So this is just a short presentation of some of the projects that are not here with us today. And the slides are uploaded into the website for the event, so I'm not going to dive into all of those projects, but I just want to share a little bit of the very recent site visit that I was very lucky to travel with Lisa in the Philippines to visit one of the projects that ISEA is doing in a coffee plantation. And then this was the other project that is done by the Davao Medical School in Mindanao. So there are, out of these 17 projects, there are some lessons learned, and everybody has a different approach about how they deal with sustainability. In the case of the Davao Medical School, they are a medical school, and their efforts are on health and supporting the community. So what they did was a very simple agreement with an ISP, but the way that the agreement was structured allowed them to use the funding that the community was paying for the service, for sharing the connectivity, to actually build funds that the community could use. So, and they have an agreement with the ISP for maintenance of the infrastructure. So a portion of the money goes towards keeping paying the bills and keeping the infrastructure running, but another part of the funds goes to the funds that they have structured on health, education, reserves, and heritage and preservation. So the little revenue that they managed to structure also benefits the whole of the community. The other thing that they explored was to provide a safe space with light for kids to be able to do their homework at night and then be together and safe in a place where there was not much to do. So they organized that working area space that allowed for over 1,000 people to benefit from the first year of operation of the project, including 690 school children. And there are other examples from the Islet Connect project in the Philippines, where you can see that it's linked to disasters. Satsol Data Garden in the Solomon Islands that is deploying a solar power movable infrastructure that is operating right now. They have finalized all the installation plans, and they have all the costing done so that they know how much it's going to cost for them to operate these movable facilities. And they are aligned with the National Inclusion Strategy for the Solomon Islands, which has allowed to incorporate fintech into the application that they are doing for a smart village solution. The project in Papua New Guinea is, again, a very similar approach. This one is linked to a university where the university covers the backhaul of the deployment, and they are looking at models to generate revenue for the community to maintain engagement and stay involved in the operation of the infrastructure, even if they don't necessarily are in charge of all the details. You know, they have people from the university to actually doing that technical support. And this project is in Malaysia, also linked through a university, and is a more experimental approach for a LoRa network, and it's connected to the campus network at the university and expanding the connectivity that the university has for the benefit of the community, but at the same time trying to build capacity in that space. So these are all our social media channels. I encourage you all to please, follow us. We're trying to get the Vanity link on LinkedIn and also on YouTube. So please, follow us and subscribe so we can get the 100 subscribers, and then we can get the Vanity link. We are doing for today on Slido. If you open slido.com and you put that code 4130211, the remote moderator, Sarbani, who's joining us on the Zoom link, is looking at the 3 questions that we're going to try and get input from the audience to participate in the input that we are going to provide for the synthesis document of the APR-IGF. So we encourage you to please incorporate your reflections into the Slido, and we'll share the results as part of the session report. So with that, I just want to start the tour for our, great panelists that are going to accompany us today. And as we are discussing, Reina, Queensland. As we are discussing, what can we do in terms of extending coverage, affordability, building more resilience networks, improving quality of service and use that is actually fit for purpose and culturally appropriate. I want to invite every one of you in the audience to think about what it is that you are doing to contribute in this space, and how you can engage in this process, because it's definitely, as you're going to see in the conversation with the speakers, it is absolutely definitely something that we have to build together. So I'm going to start with Reina Wulansari from Common Room Networks in Indonesia. Reina is the finance and administration manager, one of the founders of Common Room. They are members of the civil society. It started as an organization rooted in the arts with a community at the center, and they are putting it all together in what they call a common room. So over to you, Reina.
Thank you, Sylvia.
Slides number 1, please. There you go.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Thank you. Yes. Common Room started with the community networks around 2018, and also we work with indigenous communities in West Java, with Kasepuhan Cipta Gelar, and it's interesting to work with them because fortunately the leader of or the head of the village, Abah Ugi, he have a vision, and he's have a vision to be open for the technology, and also he wants to have a community to be able to be more independent for the to access, and then in 2019 we have the first tower built, because it's located in the mountainous area. So we try to build one tower, and this in 2020 suddenly the pandemic coming, so somehow we need to accommodate the COVID response. So in 2020 we built another 2 tower, which is still a blank spot at the time, and we need to coordinate. We use the connection to coordinate with the village which located near the coast, so that so because it was like lockdown, we have to coordinate with the downtown. So and after that we have this project called Rural ICT Camp, and Association for Progressive Communication have a program called National School of Community Networks. So we want to have more people to be engaged in community networks. But in Cipta Gelar, they want to learn about what is a community networks in Cipta Gelar, because the first, when we have this tower, and it was during COVID, at the beginning it's only one village, and then somehow it expand to 5, and then until now there is about not village but 37 hamlet, and in this 37 hamlet for a few years, from 2020 to 2003 now, it started with only 10 technicians without higher education, they need to learn like hands-on and with low learning curves to study, not to study, but to implement what it's called community networks. And so they learn hands-on and also gradual process. At the beginning, they only have maybe around 300 from one hamlet. And then now there's already about 1,000 users per day. So the cost of 66 cents for one day and 1,000 users, it happened very gradually. And then we also invite this 10 people from 20 people from 10 locations to rural ICT camp to learn about what's happened in Ciptagalar. But of course, when we try to have these community networks in each location, it's different. It's because it's with the social and then the geographic situation is different, and then it's very context specific. And of course, we have a problem with infrastructure and connectivity, and there's a digital literature and skill gap, and also the data protection, and then the policy and regulation issues. And we have to, in every location is different. And so we, like for example, in Bali, we have a rural ICT camp for 2001. And they have a different situation with Ciptagalar, but then we be able to fostering networks with the village leader, and then with the communities, and with the support from ISEA fund, we be able to build a bamboo tower. So with collaboration with the Research Center of Environmental and Cultural Product Institute of Technology, Bandung, we built the first tower made from bamboo. So it's still on study, and then we be able to build another 2 towers in Ciptagalar, and also in recently in West Kalimantan, Thai, and with specific and more modified tower. It's different from each location. Okay, so just a little bit. Okay, so we try to fostering multi-stakeholders and working with the government, also with Bakti-Kominfo, or the Telecommunication Information Accessibility Agency. So it's a long run, and then it's a gradual process to have these community networks working in many locations with diverse culture.
Thank you, Reina. I'm going to pass the speaking microphone to Mikey. You're next. So Michael. No, Michael. Michael is the co-founder and director of Strategy and Operations of Rural Broadband in Jaldi in India. It's part of the member of the private sector. So over to you, Mikey. And please, slides number 2.
Hi. Who's doing the slides?
They are doing the slides, so they will bring them up. Just
Okay.
talk.
Yeah, great. Good afternoon.
You have 5 minutes, Mickey.
Okay, cue me in on my minute 4. So thanks a lot for having me here. I want to talk about one aspect of our work, which is sustainability. And in particular, sustainability of so-called complementary networks. What are complementary networks? My understanding is all operators who are not telcos are complementary. Not necessarily a term that I would endorse, because it has certain negative connotations. But when you think about what it means that we walk into spaces that exist, into places where there is a need. And what the need is the need for connectivity. And how it's come about is, in a sense, what an ISP has to think about all the time. So when we think of sustainability, the first thing that comes to mind is, of course, the ability to sustain oneself financially. And when we think about the areas where we work, this slide is from Northeast India, from 2 states. One is called Sikkim and the other one is Northwest Bengal. Some of you might have heard about Darjeeling, Kalimpong. This is the area bordering Tibet. The challenge that we have here is the same challenge that telcos have, which has been the challenge that we've faced since we started there. Jaldi, next slide, please. And the challenge is, how do you reach places that have a viability gap, which is, again, where complementary networks come in? And how do you do so in a financially sustainable manner? And this is just one example of how we go about this. Just generally speaking, for just a second, this is where we are in India. Is a rather big subcontinent with 36 states and union territories. We're presently in 9, shortly 10 of these states. We cover about 80,000 square kilometers, reaching about 200,000 beneficiaries. When you go to a rural area, a problem that you have is, again, I'm repeating myself, how do you reach a smaller population, usually living in a challenging geographic area, with a solution that is viable? And if we don't, again, the viability is extremely important. Half-measure services won't get you very far. This idea of appropriate technology is one of the things that I passionately disagree with. Appropriate technology is technology that is appropriate. It's got to be fast. It's got to be available. What you get in Brisbane is what you need to get in Ayers Rock, right? Which we'll hear about in a second. And the way we went about this is in what we call a Y-fiber model, a mixed model, which simply put is, you as a customer will always get a fiber service. Because nowadays, those of you who don't live in India, we can no longer sell any type of connectivity that's lower than 20 Mbps. Gone are the days of wireless connectivity at 10 Mbps. And even 50 is beginning to be a problem. When you work with fiber, 50 is the minimum, 300 is the maximum. I'm talking about a small business. I'm not talking about institutional customers. They can get faster than that. But how do you do this? If you try to do this wirelessly, it's just way too expensive. What we do is we create point-to-point, middle-mile connections. Those wireless connections are then dropped to a fiber connection, and the customer gets a fiber service. This is, again, a project that we did with ISEA funding. Right now, this is covering 7 locations, but we have 10 such locations connected. Why is this important? Going back to where we started. To build a small network in each one of those small little hamlets, these are not hamlets, these are sort of villages, 2,000, 3,000, 7,000 people. To build a network there is not a viable proposition. The only possible way to do it is by having an anchor network that takes care of the sunken costs of running a network, an office, a team, overheads, the internet drop, which is a huge initial cost element, and then to extend it, sort of a hub and spoke, if you will. So this is our present way of addressing the economic sustainability. The second aspect of sustainability, which is becoming acute for us, and I believe is shared by most people who work in this field in our region, and if not, will be shared soon, is the other part of sustainability, which is the ability to sustain relevance, okay? When we started working in 2007, just bringing connectivity was a great thing, right? But if we are to realize this magic number that's thrown around that, you know, every 10% growth of internet connectivity brings about 1% growth of GDP, we need to have people who can actually make sense of the internet. And in order to do that, they need to have the skills, and we need to have the ability to respond to these growing needs. The way we go about this is increasingly getting into digital skilling and into IoT. This was 1 minute, so Sylvia, I'm just getting to the end of it. And the last thing about sustainability, which has nothing to do with any technical aspects, but I think is extremely important for complementary networks, is to remember why you're doing this. Without, if you will, an ideological aspect to your work, it's very, very difficult to sustain any such complementary operation. And I think that no organization should neglect to think about those aspects of their work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mikey. So now we are going to Micronesia with Lubuw Falanruw from Boom. He's the founder and CEO, a man of two worlds that he described himself in LinkedIn, the traditional island world of his youth and high-tech serial entrepreneur. So welcome, Lubuw. Please share your experience.
Thank you. Thank you, Sylvia.
5 minutes.
5 minutes. All right. So just a quick sense of place. Yap Islands is where I was born from being a baby all the way to age of 15, and then went abroad to Guam, which was the big city, very developed, and where I got most of my culture shock. Our group of islands of Yap Islands are very, very remote, probably the most remote in all of the Pacific. We span across over like 200 some islands and 1,000 square miles of ocean. There's no way we can put that on a slide. So we, Mission Impossible forces ingenuity, and it powers grit, and it's powered by grit and faith. We faced huge challenges. I already knew that I was going to be facing the incumbent telco, and I'll save you from all the war stories. But we also faced another form, which I would just refer to as the off-island consultant system. The things held at the top and nothing. It's 10 years and nothing really tangible on the ground. This, exhausts funds and also caused long delays and costly delays. We took on this challenge, sometimes being naive is bliss, because you just kind of charge forward. So that's what we did. We said, you know what, we're not going to wait anymore, because we have a high sense of urgency. This all began when on one of my trips back home, and my council of chiefs wanted to meet with me. They were frustrated with the ongoing illegal fishing in our oceans, and that was, even live reef fishing, spawning grounds. And we are islands that live off our resources. So light bulb goes on for my head, and I said, I think I can build. The laws are there. but we don't have teeth. We need technology. And before those, and I call that the application side. Before we can do that, we need the internet infrastructure. So we basically ended up finding out through discovery, which is the most expensive, that we have to build our own infrastructure. A lot of things that the swarm of consultants that have come and gone through that I've actually really, helped and support, but only to find that a lot of the things that was being told to us, this infrastructure, there's no infrastructure. It was just a dark fiber and a cable under submarine. We had to rehabilitate our cable landing station on our island, and then to only find out that everything that was told to us, we had to also build a non-existing infrastructure on the other side of that cable. We have more fiber on the other side of that cable than my own home islands to build and make and light up our fiber. This fiber, we had no communications. We're talking about zero. We're sending expensive gear with printout, step by step to a local team because this, by the way, I've been locked out of the island nation during COVID. We lit up our fiber during COVID with local capacity. We're proof that we didn't need all of these consultants with all these papers and studies and everything like that to do that. But more importantly, it's our local capacity, and we know our own islands and our culture. And it comes into later on here. And great. So to jump ahead, it takes a village. And we were very underfunded. I was using my own funds, completely depleted, and went into my selling all of my assets. I had gone abroad and was fortunate enough to even start off with that way. In the business tech world, if you have needs, if you don't ship product, if you don't ship service, within 6 months, you're probably already outdated. I'm finding that, and I've actually voiced that. So in the long story short, I mean, this is what we've been able to do with very little and almost 100% of local capacity. These are people that I count as engineers and technicians. When we started, they never even touched this gear. So it's the quickest way to learn. We're seeking, there's a smart funding, and well, I'll go through the list of the things we've done. We've established a data center after lighting up our dark fiber in the dark. That was almost impossible. And one thing that's really important is we're kind of doing it in a different approach. We're delivering connectivity, but with also applications that hit home, and the leaders, they understand the applications. They don't want to hear about the tech. They understand, or speeds even, it's just how does it benefit? We were the first data center in there. We did telemed right from the get-go, teleeducation right from the get-go as we were delivering connectivity. Onshoring jobs, we built a gigabit office for training, 19 schools and 20 more to go to be connected across all our islands and not only our main island. We built an application to address the first need from my Council of Chiefs, and they've also charged me with taking on the rest of this whole modern, entrance. So using AI and multi-data sourcing, we built an application that can track shipping fleets that are illegal in our oceans. And we're protecting also and building upon centuries of traditional experience-based knowledge with digital tools. And as an example, a soil microbiology lab with the use of IoT, beginning stages of that, because we are small islands and climate change and sea level rise hit. We're the first ones to get hit. My mom says she's the ethnobotanist, so this is all her, not me, it's her. But I'm the one who takes that and applies it. It addresses climate change and sea level rise. How do and IoT can actually really help with that. So our work is critical to the survival of our islands and the rest of the world. We must partner with smart funders and who share these goals. And I want to praise APNIC Foundation. They were literally, we went through such a hard time. And when we submitted one of our applications, I remember that it got pushed back. And the reason was I actually got brainwashed by thinking I had to put a whole bunch of line items for consultants when I knew I didn't really need to. But they said we need to see, they require majority of the funds to be used at the local capacity and develop our local capacity. And it literally brought tears to my eyes. It literally, I was in tears because and a moral boost. There is other sources and partners and organizations that share this goal. Last time when I just leave, it's like the thing about giving a man a fish. Don't give us fish only. We're already fishermen. Support us and allow us to innovate. We know our lands. We know our oceans, and together we can, if we can do this and make this much impact, imagine with more support. Thank you.
Thank you, Lubuw. I was not going to interrupt you when you were praising us. I take it. Thank you very much, Lubuw. Our honor actually to support your work. So now in this tour, we move to the Australian outback with Matthew James from Distant Curve. He's managing director, also a private sector organization. Another make it happen kind of person. As you see, there is a pattern that emerges in these great folks that are sitting next with me. So over to you, Matt.
G'day, everybody. Could you please change the slide? That's not me. No, that's Mary.
That's Lisa, that's
yeah.
the last ones.
That's all right. I can just riff anyway. That's all I was going to do anyway. But yeah, basically, my name's Matthew. I'm an overqualified mountain climber. Essentially, we received some funding a good few years ago now from Regional Development Australia. Basically, it was a call for funding of $125,000. It was non-prescriptive. All they wanted to do was see a telecommunications project somewhere in Australia, potentially in a regional area. So I took that 125,000 and said to them, look, what I'll do is I'll build a microwave network 250 kilometres into the Australian desert. And we got some partnerships from government as an initial client, etc. But I don't think anybody actually thought that we were going to succeed, but we did. Along the way, what we did is we provided, I did a pretty exhausting process of looking at social benefit. I did what I call a prioritisation matrix, and basically what filtered out was 2 communities in Central Desert, north of Alice Springs, Atitjara and Engawala. So two of us built that network. We had to basically start from the ground up. It's quite a long process with these Indigenous community networks to get buy-in from the community, to get sacred site approval. My general idea is that all of our telecommunications is quite transient in the broader scheme of things, and so I want my gear to be very, very low impact and easily removed. So basically, instead of using very large towers and concrete, we use very short towers and large mountains. So most of my facilities are 4 metres high. Everything can be carried in and put together. There's no concrete or anything like that. Over the years, we've achieved, I think, 5 nines of uptime. That project's been in for about 8 years now. Unfortunately, even though we have received 5 nines uptime, the government funded one of the largest telecommunications carriers in Australia to completely replicate our network and outcompete us. So they spent $50 million to beat out our $125,000 project that never used more than 5% of its capacity. So that's one of the ironies and one of the challenges, some of the extreme distortions in competition in Australia. So that's my spiel initially about what we do. The biggest issue in terms of community networks in Australia, I guess, is the extreme costs of interconnect. So for instance, at this particular time, when we put in that project in 2016, for a 10 megabit fibre feed that I then took in several hundred kilometres into the desert, it cost us $4,000 a month. So extreme costs of interconnect. And if you're taking it to little communities with only, you know, a couple of hundred people in them, that's a lot of money to try and spread. So there's a need for socialisation in these sort of projects. In terms of the technical challenges, making these systems really resilient, as I've just outlined, we have definitely sorted out those technical challenges. We've got quite a few of these projects laid out now. It's primarily support for the really extreme costs of interconnect is one of the major issues. In terms of actually how do you make these projects self-sustaining? I've spent a fair bit of time in Papua New Guinea, and I was over on an island, Karkar Island off Madang, and talking to a coconut farmer over there, and he said, Matt, when Digicel came to this community, it revolutionised my business. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, top-up cards, because people actually have a desire, actually want to make a bit of money. So the Digicel situation there is essentially created an economy. So you just get a $5 top-up card, and if you run out of money, then that's all right. You just don't get any internet. But everybody wanted to do a little bit of work here and there for Derek, just to be able to afford the top-up cards. Now, creating an economy like that in an Indigenous community, whether it's the right thing or the wrong thing, I don't know. But I think it was quite interesting. And certainly when we actually get to, unfortunately, we were prevented from rolling out to the community itself due to those issues with the large competition. But when we do want to get into communities, we would like to follow that model, because we think it's unethical to get Indigenous people to sign up to long-term contracts. And certainly there's a lot of competition law has come out. There's an ACCC finding against one of our large carriers here that basically was selling services to Indigenous communities that they couldn't really afford or couldn't really use. So we'd like to adapt that model, and we'd like to work out a way that we can do that top-up card sort of model here in Indigenous Australia, within the constraints of the fact that we obviously there is a very high cost of interconnect that we have to fund. So we try to also partner with larger industries. So a lot of these communities will have mines nearby, pastoralists and stuff like that. So you get a cross-subsidisation. Yeah, so that's how much time have I got left?
None.
None. Fantastic. That's my 5 minutes. Here's my pictures, by the way.
You were not making eye contact, so I couldn't.
Yeah. So that's just some pictures of that particular project. There's nothing really dramatic there, but yeah, we carried that whole project out in that trailer and on that Land Cruiser. So that's 6 towers. So yeah, it's a vast area, very hot, 45 degrees. That's our embedded system that we made. The project is so vast, that's all at the same time. And you can see it's quite bright on one side, but down the bottom, it's completely dark. So that's how wide it is, that it's complete, that's sort of at sunrise. So it's a pretty vast project. And we're going to do the same thing for ISEA to another community, either in Northern Territory or South Australia. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now, as women tend to have the last word, then we are going to go with Lisa from ISEA. She's the president of the Institute for Social Entrepreneurship in Asia. She represents civil society, and she's trying to figure out ways in which the community networks and complementary solutions movement can incorporate social entrepreneurship into our practices. So over to you, Lisa.
Thank you, Sylvia.
You
My-
have 5 minutes.
Yeah, so I'll be sharing with you evolving sustainability strategies of the pilot community network models that as Sylvia was saying, we are linking to social enterprise and local economic development. No? And next slide, please. So we actually are doing a model building of these community networks in 3 countries with 4 partners. And the reason why we embarked on this initiative is precisely because we wanted to develop community networks that are more sustainable than those that have been developed through the infrastructures. Yeah. So we wanted to address sustainability issues from the onset, and of course, optimize the potentials of ICT to enhance the efficiency, productivity, and of course, incomes of social enterprises and the poverty groups that they serve. And in Bangladesh, there's a cellular router system being developed by a fair trade enterprise in a crafts value chain. Yeah. So that the cellular router system is helping to connect crafts communities with a fair trade enterprise, and then the designers and all the other stakeholders in the value chain. What we're doing in China, where there is no problem with connectivity, is that they are developing an app, a virtual platform, enabling smallholder farmers, women and youth, in 2 pilot villages to share, document, and also showcase local and indigenous knowledge systems, which in the long run, we're hoping to become part of a social enterprise system promoting educational agri-ecological tours. In the Philippines, we have 2 projects. The Philippine Rural Reconstruction Movement is developing a cellular router system connecting at least 3 production clusters of women and men small-scale producers in organic vegetable production. And they are connected to the cellular router system connects them also to their entrepreneurial nonprofit marketing partner called Vizcaya Fresh, which is actually selling the organic vegetables. So the other pilot project is by the Philippine Coffee Alliance. They're developing an IoT system and an ICT program with a human-machine interface that is integrated into the coffee roasting machine that is community-based, and also other coffee, machines that are actually processing the coffee. Because the Philippine Coffee Alliance promotes a value chain where the farmers and the indigenous people are not only producing coffee beans, but they're actually processing them in their own communities and creating their own brands of coffee. Yeah. So in all this, maybe the last word that I'd like to say, because there's not much time, is the evolving sustainability strategies of these initiatives. We believe that the sustainability strategies in these 4 pilot communities, which are actually being done in value chains of coffee, organic vegetables, crafts, and an agri-ecological educational tour social enterprise. They indicate that existing and potential social enterprises and their stakeholders shall sustain these initiatives, these community network initiatives beyond project timeframes, because they provide meaningful connectivity. Meaning to say that they are not just providing connectivity per se, but these connectivity processes are resulting to concrete socioeconomic impacts, no? And benefits to the social enterprises and their marginalized stakeholder communities. And these take the form of improved capacities to produce and create and sell marketable products. It's also creating and sharing knowledge products, the capacities to do that, as well as capacities to monitor and learn from operations so that they have efficiency of operations, like in the Philippine Coffee Alliance, for example. They also are creating access or improved access to markets, like as the value chain in crafts, they're new crafts communities, no? And they're now making money because of the cellular router system that has been built into the system of fair trade. And then access or improved access to production or processing technologies, increased productivity, and also increased efficiency of operations. So for example, for the organic vegetable value chain, they're already experiencing savings, no? Because they're able to communicate without having to go from one production community to the next. And then of course, increased income and revenues. No? So I guess what we're trying to develop a new approach of developing community networks that are linked to social enterprise and local economic development. And we believe this has potential in terms of ensuring that the community networks are sustainable in the long run. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Well, I think I win the worst timekeeper ever prize, but I hope that the audience agrees with me that there's so much knowledge and experience in this table that it's just was important for you guys to let it out. So I really appreciate that you guys have shared with us your insights. You know, we only have 7 minutes left, so according to the agenda, unless we take some minutes, and I don't see anyone from Doreisha, from the Secretariat saying no. So can we have a few more minutes, Jasmine? Jasmine, can we have a few more minutes? Yeah, she's not saying no, so we're gonna go. So we encourage you guys to please answer the 3 questions that there are on Slido. We really want to incorporate some of the reflections from the audience, and especially from folks that are joining us remotely about the 3 main things that are: what are the concerns of your community? How are you guys addressing those? And if you see any value in having some sort of community of practice when we share and support each other in this space, and these lessons and this, you know, knowledge exchange continues. So we encourage you to take all of that. And then if there's any questions in the room, if anyone has any question, or any remote participants that have any questions, I don't know if Sarbani can't see remote channel, but I don't know if there is any questions from the audience or from the remote participation. Yeah. If not, I'm going to go starting from this way to just a tweet of what would be your main message to the people that are looking at that complementary part, which is, I think Matthew really summarized it in the competition. It's like, are we really complementing each other, or are we trying to, you know, kill each other in the process? So what is your take in this conversation around sustainability and relevance?
Oh, I think that, you know, a lot of everybody standing here and sitting here has worked out really innovative ways to turn the market on its head to a certain extent. You know, for instance, I know Michael's quite similar, but what we tend to do is we use very, very inexpensive commodity gear, but put together in such a way that it becomes extremely reliable, replication reliability. All of this sort of innovation, it often really attracts some entrenched anti-competitive conduct. It tends to scare the existing people. Yeah, I think that complementary growth, we really as a society and as government need to spend a lot of time and a lot of effort really supporting these sorts of smaller projects. Yeah, that's my fundamental view there. Marie?
Yeah. I guess I already said my main message, which is actually, if we talk about sustainability of community networks, we need to ensure meaningful connectivity that translates to the socioeconomic benefits to stakeholders who will pay for the connectivity, and to social enterprises who will use the community, connectivity to improve their operations so that they can have greater income and they can serve the community better. Thank you.
I'm thinking of something that we're facing in India, and like many other things in connectivity, what happens in India today will probably happen in other countries in 2 or 3 or 5 years. And that is the result of this proliferation of internet connectivity. When you ask people from India, all of India is covered. The prices of internet in India are the cheapest in the world. And that's true, bar none, by a factor of about 5. But one thing we forget is that this is not really closing the digital gap in rural areas. It's making it bigger. And the problem with it is that it's taking the floor under any operator who's not externally funded, subsidized one way or the other, or running a monopolistic play. And one of the challenges for all of us as people running complementary networks or supporting them is to look at this reality in the face and say, how do we support reaching rural communities when the price points are increasingly becoming impossible for operators such as ours to run such shows in such places. So if you want to keep us from rural out-migration of ISPs to urban areas, we need to think about that.
Sorry, just a very quick interruption. We have one question from the UTIS local. If you want to take it now or later, it's up to you. Yeah, of course. Yeah, just to let you know. Thank you.
Yeah, one of the, even with the long history of previous grant funds that were stalled, the way I approached it and was then adopted by everyone on that mission was basically not just delivering the connectivity in parallel, but direct impact that our leaders can understand and stakeholders. A lot of the politics gets replaced. The word politics gets replaced. The word competition gets replaced. There is no competition to compete over. We need to build the infrastructure at a standard so that we can go to the other side where there's digital economies. And so the narrative is already wrong from the beginning. So we need so that was a success for us.
Yes. Yeah. To build the community networks or complementary connectivity initiatives, it needs to be human-centered, and it needs to be allow multi-stakeholders to take part, and also it needs to be mixed funding, so everyone needs to chip in, and everyone needs to be involved, and we need to be understand with the diversity of each location, each country.
Thank you, Reina. Jasmine, would you mind to read the question, please?
I think they prefer to speak it from their mic. So I will just unmute them for you.
Sure. We can't hear you.
Safai, maybe your team can also type if you cannot connect.
No.
Audible?
Yes.
Yes.
Hear you. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon from here, University of Information Technology and Sciences, Bangladesh. And we are really glad to be a local hub in this Asia Pacific Regional Internet Governance Forum 2023 at Brisbane, Australia. So this is a very nice and very informative session for us. I have a small queries about the meaningful connectivity and internet. Bangladesh have been facing challenges in rural and coastal areas about the meaningful internet connectivities. So the queries is the challenge that the other stakeholders have been facing, how we can prepare a infrastructure at the rural and coastal areas in Bangladesh with a meaningful internet connectivity and accessibility for the peoples.
You wanna take up?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
It's a pleasure talking to you. Actually, the reason I picked up the mic is we have a project going on in Bangladesh, which will kick in a very short while. Very, very, very quickly. One of the problems you have to think about when you're talking about providing connectivity in rural Bangladesh is you got to beat the 400 taka a month question. Taka is the currency in Bangladesh, right? 400 taka translates to about $5. Okay, so we got to make sense of making $5 a week, a month, US dollars, and build a network. And more, the second aspect of the work is, again, I have little experience in Bangladesh, been there only twice, but my sense of it is that not unlike India, you have a very good backbone infrastructure, and the question is really extending it to the last mile. There are many, many models of doing that. It's been done for many, many years. The idea is, again, if you saw the presentation, why fiber is one way of doing it. Just find out the best tools in the toolbox to reach those areas that are not yet covered, but very doable. Very, very favorable topology you have there and topography in Bangladesh.
Thank you, Michael. Well, unfortunately, we run out of time. My fault, but I would encourage you all to explore the pages and the project profiles that all the projects have on the foundation website, and have a look at the experience that they have shared with us. There are plenty of presentations from each one of these projects available online as well, and more information about how they are addressing these issues. But also, I want to highlight that even though the internet is so pervasive and it's everywhere, it is very young, the people that invented it are still around. So we just need to understand that a lot of these things are not solved, not because there are not enough minds trying to solve them, not because there is no interest. It's because we're just in the teenage years and we're trying midlife crisis sort of thing, and we're trying to understand what's next. So in that journey of trying to understand what's next, it's very important that people that are trying to do things for their communities communicate with donors, with the sponsors, with foundations, with their governments, with the regulators. Do not underestimate the power of communicating the needs of your community and to share your experience with others, because we can change the narrative, as Lubuw mentioned, by just finding a way to talk to each other and learn from each other. So I think that is very important that we remind ourselves of how new all of this is and how much we all have to collectively contribute to gain more knowledge in this space and solve the problems that we are facing. But just don't beat ourselves that everything has to be solved. It's not, we are not there yet, but it's okay. We will get there. We will get there. Let's say we will get there together. And I think that resonates a lot with other sessions where we keep saying that it's better together. So just, I hope that I leave you with that sense of collaboration. And I see government agencies in the room that I hope that pick on this and support a growing environment in their countries to make sure that these complementary solutions have a way to grow and support their communities. Thank you very much to everyone in the room, and thank you everyone that joined us remotely.